Hello, this is Angela Anderson, and today I'm going to show you how to draw a butterfly. This is part of a two-part series. The first part will be the drawing, and the second part will be the painting. And I'm doing this as part of the Love Summer Art campaign that some of me and my art friends on YouTube have decided to do. We're putting out our videos all at the same time. So the July 17th through the 20th. It's a collaboration, kind of a virtual art festival. So this is the first part of that, and you can look for my second part, the actual painting part, following this video. I want to do a swallowtail today in honor of the black swallowtail. I'm going to do the, I think it's called common swallowtail. I'm not sure. I'm sure I'll have a lot of butterfly aficionados telling me. But anyhow, it is this yellow with some blue and orange spots. I just love it. And I used it for this painting, but I cut off the end. I used 3 butterflies, and part of the butterfly here was cut off at the top. So I haven't been able to use it in any of my fabric or wallpaper designs. So I thought I would do a full-size swallowtail, and then I can use it for some other things, and you can see how it's done. So I hope you enjoy it. We'll get started. This is my drawing here. Now, if you wanted to cheat, you could find a large picture on the internet, find a royalty-free image and make sure it's big enough for your canvas size, and then just trace it. That's an option. I'm going to show you how to draw it in case you want to go and do it yourself. And I actually, when I'm doing my students, I really prefer their drawn images. I don't do a lot of their drawing for them. I figure they're not going to get to learn to draw if I do the work for them. So, and I love that they're so unique. I show them all the same way how to do it, and everybody's is a little bit different, and that's great. That's what I love about art. And so if yours is a little bit different than mine, don't worry about it. It's your artwork, and it should look different. So let's start here. The main thing that I do when I'm first starting is figure out how big I want to make it. And I'm going to fill up my canvas here, and it's about the same size as a regular sheet of 8. I'm using an 8 by 10 canvas, so just a regular sheet of printer paper will work for a general size of the canvas. It'll be a little bit smaller, but it'll work for us. And I've printed off a picture here that is a little smaller than what I want. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than this picture and put it on my paper here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the body, figure out how big we want the body. The wings are going to be about double the size of the body, so at least the top part of the wings. So you can kind of use your fingers to figure out where you think you want it, and it'll be like right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of your paper right here. So you want to leave room at the bottom, and you may actually want to move it up just slightly for the swallowtail, although I think that their top and bottom wings, even with the tail, are about the same height. So I don't think you need to worry about that too much. But if you were doing like a butterfly that had very wide wings, you might have to compensate for that and make the body a little smaller so that the wings would fit. So I'm going to do the body of the butterfly is going to have 3 parts. The first part is just going to be like a little circle for the head. Whoop, my pen wasn't working there. And then the body, I guess this part's called the thorax maybe, I'm not sure. I'm sure the butterfly people are cringing right now. So it is kind of a little oval right here. Right? And then there's a tail section. And the tail section is a little bit longer than the body, usually. And it usually tapers down to kind of a little vague point, and it'll be a little bit wider at the bottom than at the top. It'll narrow a little bit as it touches the body. Okay, so a little bit bigger than the top two sections, and that's about right. I think that's a good starting point. Okay, so all of the wings and everything are going to come from the body. So you will have a little space from between the head and the first wing, so there'll be like a tiny little neck right here, maybe, right? So that'll be the start of our first wing, and then the bottom of the first wing will be right down in the middle of the body, across from each other right there. And then the start of the bottom wings will be kind of angled down from not quite at where the tail starts, but almost just above where that tail starts. Okay, so those are our 3 points, and these should be about the same distance apart. Okay, so that'll be our good starting point to start where our wings are going to go. And we're going to go almost a 45-degree angle, I guess, up here and out. This angle is pretty sharp, and a little trick that you can do to check your angle is you can hold your pen straight up like this, and you can see how much of an angle it is there and check it against your drawing. So that looks about right, I think. Might even be a little steeper. Okay, and I'm drawing in pen. I normally would probably draw in pencil, but I couldn't really see it very good on the video, so I'm doing it in pen. So you're going to have grace for me in case I make a mistake here. So just saying. I have a really hard time talking and drawing, and even painting sometimes, which makes it difficult when you're doing a YouTube video, of course, because you're having to talk and explain what you're doing. So my YouTube video projects are not always they're definitely not, probably ever, what I would normally sell in a gallery, but they're great for demonstration, and you can always make them a little bit more fancy than I show in my videos. So there's my 2 sides of my upper wings, and I kind of like to do one side and then do another, just because I've already got those angles kind of in my head, so it's a little bit easier than doing this whole side and then coming back to this side, because it feels like you're kind of starting out from scratch when you do that. So I usually go up to about the point where the going to curve down, and then I stop, and then I'll come to the part where the bottom of this upper wing is, and I will start it, and it actually goes almost straight out. Sometimes this bottom wing will curve up over it a little bit, but to start with, I'm just going to go straight out like this, and do the same thing on this side. And then my angle coming back in is a little bit less severe. I'm going to check how long my body is compared to the size of these wings. That's about right. You kind of want your wings to be almost twice as long as the body. So you can check it with your fingers, or you can use a ruler if you want to get really strict about it, but that's a good general rule, that the body will be twice as long as this upper wing, at least in this butterfly. And most butterflies have this general shape, so it's a good rule of thumb. But this bottom section is actually going to be like 1 butterfly length before it starts to curve up. So that's 1 section here, and you check it there, and you can see that it starts to curve up from about the distance of 1 body length. So we've got about the right area right here. We'll start curving it up from there, and from about right there, I think. Okay. And then right now I'm not going to worry too much about these little scalloped edges, because those will come into play when we do our veins. So we can touch those up after we put our veins in. There'll be a little bump everywhere that the vein touches. Okay, so this angle here is not nearly as severe as that first angle is. It's almost straight down, but it angles in just slightly. So if you see your perpendicular line here, you can see there's just a slight curve to it. So it is more like that. It might come out just a little bit more than I drew there. Okay, so that's probably about right. And then the same thing on this side. And if you get these two distances right, then this angle is pretty easy because it's almost just a straight line from here to connect the top and bottom. You just curve them a little bit. And this one might come up just slightly, but okay, so that's that. And then this bottom wing, this will be the trickier one, but it's not too hard. You can do it. You're going to come out just a little bit in an angle this way, and then you're going to drop almost straight down. You will go out a little bit, but not too much. And then this distance here is about the same distance as the body also. So this will be about to right here. Come down to about right there. Okay. That'll be our first little dip right here on either side. And then I'm going to use this outer, and this upper wing is kind of overlapped a little bit. Sometimes I think it's usually kind of a little bit above this other wing here, but they line up pretty well in this picture. Of course, I think this is a dead butterfly that we're looking at because their wings aren't normally this spread this far out when they are alive. Unfortunately, this one is probably deceased, but I like to see the more of the wings, so I prefer the pictures of them on the boards like this rather than the live shots. That's just my preference. But you can draw your butterfly however you like. So this part of the wing is a little bit past halfway. So it's a little bit past halfway. I would say halfway is about right here. So it's probably going to start about right here. You're going to start to see that bottom wing break away from the upper wing. And this angle will be similar right here. So you can kind of draw a imaginary line right here, and this will actually come down a little bit more than what we did here. So there's another little dip down here, and then another dip right here, and it comes out, and then that'll be the bottom of these. Will kind of line up with that. This is kind of the bottom of this line right here. So this one, and then you'll kind of do an imaginary line over here, and this one will be like that, and then another curve here, another curve here, and a smaller curve here. And again, we don't have to get super detailed with this part. When we put our veins in, we can make sure that these angles are right. But that's kind of a general spacing there. So I'm going to clean up some of these. And then the tail is very narrow. And then it widens at the tip, like a little foot almost. A little teardrop shape, like that. Okay, and it will be outside that angle, so it will be kind of out on its own, just like that. And it will angle in toward where these two meet. So if you want to check your angles there, that should be kind of pointing right to that center of the body. Okay. Then we'll do the other side, and again we're gonna come in just outside of middle of that upper wing. Start that downward angle there. And I think this one's supposed to come out a little bit more. I think I got stingy on this side. Don't worry too much if your two sides don't match up. I'm going to show you a little trick that I use with my students later when we do butterflies. It actually takes kind of the pain out of drawing them, because you don't have to have them perfectly symmetrical. Of course, butterflies are perfectly symmetrical, but when we draw them, we can just pick and choose which side of the butterfly we drew the best and use that side and then mirror it onto our tracing paper so that we have a perfectly symmetrical drawing. So don't worry too much if your sides don't match up. But go ahead and draw them out, because you may find that you like one side better than the other. Okay, so we're dipping down here and going in. This side is lower than that side, but that's okay. Then we're going to go down, back up a little bit, and back down for a little point right there, and then big curve over. And again, we kind of can check our angle here. It should angle in, pointing towards that center of the body, and I want this to match up, so I'm going too long on that one. So I need to make sure that these sides match up. This side is a little bit longer than that side. I got a little happy on this side talking. I wasn't paying attention. You want to always check your sides and make sure that you're matching up. So this was supposed to be a little bit shorter. Or I could just make this one longer, but I kind of like this size, so I'm going to leave it. But this tail is going to end a little bit shorter than what I drew there. And it's going to narrow. It'll be a little bit wider at the base, and it'll narrow as it comes in toward the body, or the middle part of the wing. And then check your angle here. I actually think this could come out a little bit. And it's going to angle down like that. Okay, so I'm going to go out, just go back in, out, back in, out, back in, just like that. Okay. Okay, so there's our basic butterfly, and now I'm going to show you. Now if you wanted to, you could stop here and you could just worry about the stripes. This is a particularly probably more difficult butterfly to paint, because it's got a lot of details in the stripes, and the stripes don't match up to the veins. So they go right across the veins. They don't really pay attention to staying in the lines of the veins. Some butterflies kind of follow the lines of their veins better than others. So you can choose a different butterfly. Some of your more basic butterflies will not have the tails on them, so you could draw this part and just leave off this little tail, and that might be like a monarch type shaped butterfly. So the basic drawing is the same. There's just a few little adjustments that you can make for different types of butterflies. You might have a smaller tails section for your bird wing butterflies and things like that. Okay, so let's do the veins. The upper veins here are going to be starting. There's your first one that you're going to want to draw is going to mirror this outer edge. So it will be just slightly inside, and it'll just parallel that line. I'll use the line that I kind of fixed to draw there, and it will go all the way to the tip. Okay, I'll do this side. Let's see if I can do it it so you can see the drawing. And it will follow that line just inside and go all the way to the edge. Okay, then you'll have a line that comes from the middle of the body, the middle of the wing right here. It comes up and it's a little bit narrower. It doesn't quite split it down the middle, so there's a little bit more room on the bottom than on the top. It kind of comes down and it stops about a little bit past where that middle line was here. So if you go straight up from there, it stops just past that line. It's not quite like if you checked halfway up this wing here, it's just a little bit past halfway. Okay, hope that explains it okay. But okay, so it's just past this point right here, so go just a little bit farther past that. Okay, and then it's going to curve up. I'm not going to finish it off quite yet because there's another part of it that kind of comes off of it, so I'm just going to kind of curve it up just a little bit for now, but not touch it up to here. Okay, then the next part of the vein that you're going to draw is right up where this meets the body. There's a line that comes and parallels this bottom edge. Whoops, not that far down. Sorry, I looked down for a second and look what happened. So it's going to go kind of like that. Just ignore that little line there, sorry. And the same thing on this side. You're going to come out and it's going to go to the outer edge like that. Okay? And it starts right about where that one starts there, splits off. Okay? So now we've got our first three lines in, this one in the middle, and then this one at the bottom. And now what we can do is start doing our division lines. We're going to divide this up into sections, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 before it starts to curve, and this upper one would be the fifth. So there's one, and I'm going to start at that one, at the tip of that curve. It's going to kind of curve out a little bit, just slightly up, just angled a little bit up and to the edge. It's not following this angle. It's kind of doing its own little thing right here. It's probably closer to this angle here, not quite straight across, just slightly up. Then come down and curve up from this line here, this middle line that we drew. We're going to curve up a little bit and out. Okay. And then I'm going to come down just below that, and about the same distance apart from this one, I'm going to do my next section. And this one's going to come almost straight across. So I'm going to kind of gauge about that same distance, and I'm going to make this line almost the same distance apart as these two lines are. And then I'm going to fit two more lines in here and just try to find an equal distance apart, so each of these sections is about the same size, and bring them towards this body here, almost straight. This one will curve a little bit more, just slightly downward, and meet up with that outside edge. Okay, so that's our basic ribs, I guess, of our butterfly wing. And so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'll start at the top of this curve right here, and I'll curve up and out. a little bit, and try to kind of check your angles here and make sure that you're leaving room, because you want to put a few more lines up in here, so you don't want it to go too high up. It's almost straight across. And then again, I'm going to come up from this and curve it up and out. I probably should have brought that up a little bit higher, because this next line is going to be right underneath. Again, about the same distance. And there you can check across. You can even lay your pen across and make sure that you're getting your lines equal distance apart. Now, like I said, I think I mentioned before that we're going to trace the side that's the best side, so it really doesn't matter all that much unless you were doing a drawing. Like if I was doing this pen and I was going to watercolor it or something like that, then it would be important because you would be using your drawing for your artwork. So in that case, I would definitely try to check my angles a little bit better and make sure that I'm getting my two sides symmetrical. And then yeah, because these are a little bit lower than they probably need to be, because I'm supposed to be fitting two more of these sections in here, and I probably am not going to have room. So probably what I would do is move this one down a little bit to make room for my next line, and move this one up just a little bit. Move both of these up actually. So that one would be up, that one would be up, and then I'd have room for my two more lines in here. Okay, so this side's not as great as that side, but that's all right. If I was doing this for real, I would not be talking the whole time, so I would be able to concentrate a little bit better. So you will hopefully have a better time of it than I have. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go up one section just above this, about the same distance as here, and I'm going to mirror this angle and I'm going to curve it down a little bit, and then I'm going to bring this all the way to the outside. I'm just going to continue that line all the way to the outside. Then I'm going to close off this circle. So now I know where my circle needs to end. That's why we didn't close it off before. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I'm going to go about the same distance apart, and I'm going to angle it toward, it's not quite horizontal, it's just curving just slightly downwards as it gets toward the outer edge of the wing, and then this is going to curve in right here. Okay, then it's just a matter of from this point right here doing one more little split. And some of them split off again here, so you could do that too if you want. All right, so one more split. Oh, that should come up a little higher. And then another. This side is definitely my bad side, isn't it? And actually this split may come down a little farther than that, now that I'm looking at it. Okay, so that's our upper wing. Not too bad. Hopefully you'll try that. It's just a matter of checking your angles and making sure that you're kind of keeping them equal distance apart and that kind of thing. And if you're using a pencil, you can always erase it. Then to finish it off, I would work on these outer edges and just sharpen up some of these edges and make some little lumps in the outer edge of the wings. So every place that that has a vein ending, right in the middle of where the vein comes out, there's going to be a little lump. And this one, this butterfly is not too pronounced. Some butterflies have a very pronounced scalloped edge, and others, this one doesn't have a super scalloped. Okay, now for the bottom wing. This bottom wing is always a little trickier, isn't it? We're going to we're going to do a line a little bit down, not quite halfway down between these two upper and lower edges, so a little bit above halfway, and we're going to do a line that connects up with this little part right here. So it's going to curve out, it's going to come horizontal for a little while, and then it's going to curve down to match this outer edge curve. So curve it the same as you did that side. Does that make sense? So I'll do this side. So just above halfway right here, I'm going to come out and follow this line, and then as I get closer to the edge, I'm going to actually, this line is going to be, let me make sure I'm getting this right, yeah, right up here. Whoops. I can't see what I'm drawing on this side, that's why I'm having trouble. My hand's in the way. Okay, and then you'll have a line that connects this, and it'll go all the way up to just inside that. So right there where that little first notch is, this line will come up right there, okay? And like I said, these are the veins. We're not worried about the patterns right now. This is just the veins, the bones of your butterfly. And like I said also, that you can leave this part out if you decide you just want to focus on the pattern. You don't have to put the veins in your painting. I'm going to show you my version with the veins in it, but you can make it your own. The veins do make it a little bit more complicated, a little bit more realistic, so it's just up to you. Alright, so then I've got that, and then I'm going to come down just a little bit right there on either side, and I'm going to make this shape right here. There's this kind of geometric type shape that happens, and I'm trying to figure out how that would be the easiest way to show you. Well, okay, probably the first thing is it actually starts on this line, so it'll come down about right here a little bit, maybe a third of the way. Yeah, about a third of the way through this line. So 1, 2, if you kind of split it into 3 parts, about a little bit more than a third of the way. You're going to angle it, and it will angle, it'll match the angle of your tail. So that'll help you get this angle right. And it's not very long, because this is going to be, this end of it is going to be your first vein here, and it'll meet up with this. So just kind of measure it against here. You want this and this to be almost the same distance apart. So when you angle this down, then you'll just bring your line into this point here that we already drew. Okay, then we're going to angle it almost straight down and do our next line, and it also will be maybe a little bit bigger than this one, but pretty close to the same size. Now the next part is just a little tiny bit away from that line here. There's not a whole lot of room right there, and it will be the line that goes down the middle of your tail. Okay, so at this point it should be matching up right here. This line should go from the tail all the way through the middle and up right to right there. All right. And this is where you can check to see if you got these scallops correct. If you didn't, you can fix them at this point and make sure that they're matching up with these lines that you've drawn. Okay? Then we're going to angle it back toward the body. So I'm going to bring this line down. It'll kind of parallel this line here, and it'll point down towards. The angle is pretty similar to this line, so I guess we'll just kind of use that as our guide. Go down to about right here, and then there's a vein that matches up with that right there. Okay, then actually this should be farther this way, and this should be closer to that. See, I'm seeing my own mistake here. Okay, and then this line will be right there. Okay, and this will angle in and close off that little section there. This may be a little bit too big, so you can always adjust these angles, like if you wanted to make it a little bit less, a little skinnier right here. I might bring that up a little bit to narrow this a little bit more. Okay, but you get the idea. Okay, so let's do this again. Okay, so there's our basic veins of our butterfly. And there's also going to be some little striations in the body. It's kind of segmented, so I kind of just do like little lines in it. And then this part has also got some little indentations, and there's usually some different colors around the outside than on the top here. And then the eyes, you can kind of separate them out. They kind of point outward. And then the mouth is kind of like a, oh, I don't know, it comes out in kind of a triangle shape, sort of. And then the antenna come up from there with a little space in between, and curve them out. And they can have a little bit of a thicker tip. Okay, so that's our finished drawing. Not perfect, but it's pretty decent. And that'll give us good bare bones for when we go to do our painting. You can color this in however you'd like. We're going to do, on the painting, we're going to make it yellow and black with some blue and orange spots. But I'm not going to do that part on this drawing because this is just our template for our painting. So I wanted to show you also, before I go, the way I do the tracing paper. So I would decide what side I like the best, and I think I like this side of the butterfly the best. So what I would do is draw out the center of the butterfly. And then I'm going to draw the one side that I like the best. So I'm going to go ahead and do the things here. And now is where you can kind of fix any of your little flaws that you've made when you drew. You don't even have to worry about erasing your mistakes. You can just fix them when you do your tracing paper. Just leave those parts out. So now I've got this half of the butterfly traced, and to get a perfectly symmetrical butterfly, what I'll do is line up that body right down the middle and then trace the opposite side. And I'll just do the outside edges so you can see what I'm talking about. But once we open this up, we will have a perfectly symmetrical butterfly. If I don't do a little too fast and ruin it with my tracing. Okay, so there you can see how it's perfectly symmetrical. So there's our finished drawing on tracing paper. And we can use this now to transfer our design onto our canvas. In my next video, I'll show you how to paint the butterfly. And I hope you stay tuned for that. I've really enjoyed showing you this. I hope you've learned something. And if you try this, I'd like to see your projects. You can post it to my Facebook page or on Google+. Anyhow, thank you for watching. Bye.